really matters? That might be the most important question you can ask. So let's talk about it. Welcome to What Really Matters podcast, Everyday Spirituality with Karen Wyatt. Thanks for joining me here again today. I'm glad you've decided to take a listen to this podcast. I'm going to be talking about, this is a question that a listener sent to me sometime in the past about what if the world doesn't want my gifts? And this kind of broke my heart a little bit because one of the things I talk about a lot is the world needs each one of us. We're all needed in the world. All of our gifts are important, and we need to figure out how to manifest our gifts and bring them to the world. But this person wrote to me and talked about all of the frustration and disappointment she had faced as she tried to give her gifts to the world, and as she tried to create things and to find work to do that would celebrate her gifts and allow other people to experience her gifts. She'd met with many closed doors, many obstacles, and had not found really a clear path toward bringing her gifts to the world, and was feeling extremely discouraged at the time she wrote to me. And as I said, it broke my heart in a way because I could sense her integrity and her sincerity in wanting to give her gifts to the world, and what a sense of betrayal by life that those gifts have not been received. So I did a lot of thinking about how to respond to her, and I thought that maybe I would share my response with you in case this applies to any of you. But I thought back to times when I have been quite disappointed in my own life by things that I was trying to accomplish or something I wanted to do, something that I thought would be successful or well received that simply wasn't. And I think that's something all of us experience at one time or another on our journey through life. These huge, major disappointments that can really shatter our idealism in a way, and our sense of who we are, our sense of purpose and why we're here. Last week, I talked about resilience and how to become a more resilient person. And I really think these shattering and disappointing experiences are part of that path of helping us learn greater resilience in life. And I think it may actually be important for us to be crushed a few times in life in order to learn more things. But on the other hand, I have extreme empathy for anyone going through the disappointment, the disillusionment, and the pain of feeling rejected by the world and feeling like your gifts have not been received. So I just wanted to start by saying that that's where my heart is. I have huge empathy and compassion for that experience, but I wanted to share some other thoughts about this type of disappointment and why it might happen. So bear with me. I'm going to read parts of my response to this person, what I wrote back. So first of all, I believe there is divine timing for our gifts to be given to the world, and perhaps the world is not quite ready yet for what you offer. I know sometimes when I talk about divine timing, people push back, and I know that many of us don't have a belief that there is that sort of order in the universe, but I find not that anything is preordained or predetermined, only that there is this flow of energy in the universe that I'm aware of. There are these patterns, there are the ways things connect to one another, and that sometimes the right things have to be in place for another thing to happen. And if our gifts come to fruition a little bit ahead of the preparation that's necessary in society, we may find that there isn't an audience there. Our gifts don't land with anyone because the people that they're for aren't ready for them yet. So there may be something a little bit off about the timing. And so I went on to write, we don't see or understand all the small details that must fall in place throughout the universe before change occurs. But most likely, everything is actually in motion right now, preparing for your gift to be accepted when the timing is right. Now, as painful as it is, there are stories in history, and one that I turn to all the time is the life of Vincent van Gogh, who was an extremely gifted artist, but who was not appreciated in his own lifetime. It wasn't until years later that his work was discovered and celebrated, and now he's, one of our most important artists that we recognize all over the world. But during his own lifetime, his works, his paintings were not really valued or appreciated. He sold only one painting while he was alive, and that was to a friend who actually bought it out of sympathy. So imagine this incredible talent being here on the earth and being uncelebrated and unrecognized while he was alive, while he was here actually creating these works, bringing his gifts to the earth, but not being appreciated during his own lifetime, only being discovered later on. And so, that's a harsh reality for someone to have to live a life and not be accepted and not be recognized during their own lifetime. But that's an example of the timing. The audience wasn't ready yet for the artistic works that he came here to create. But boy, was the audience ready down the road a little bit later on, because look at how incredibly popular his works are now. And so, that's a challenge for us to accept, but sometimes perhaps we're bringing our gifts at a time when the world just isn't quite ready for them yet. The timing hasn't worked out yet. And so the second thing that I wrote to this person was, it's possible that there are small things you need to learn or adjust in your creation before it's fully ready. So the idea that maybe sometimes we're pushing out the thing we've created or worked on a little too early. We're excited to get it out to the world, so we push it ahead. And maybe there's something else needed. Maybe there's something for us to learn first, or something we needed to include. Or I went on to say, maybe there's one more thing for you to add, or a different way to look at what you have created. And that's definitely been true for me. At times, I've found obstacles within myself toward putting something out in the world. I simply couldn't do it. I didn't have the energy or the inspiration to actually finish a project. And it turned out there was one small thing that I needed to learn before I was ready for that to happen, something that needed to be added or tweaked a little bit in my project before the timing was right to put it out there. And then the third thing I suggested is, maybe there are obstacles within you that need to be cleared away before your gift can be offered. So maybe there's something inside of us that needs to be healed or soothed or loved or forgiven before we're ready energetically to put this gift out there for the world. I wrote, in my case, I had to learn how to be vulnerable in front of others and how to have a thick skin when other people criticized me. I needed those skills before I would be ready to give to the world. And that took me a number of years to develop, to be able to be vulnerable and to face criticism and to even face hatred sometimes from other people because of the nature of the work that I do, but being able to persist and persevere, as we talked about in last week's episode on resilience, being able to keep going in spite of that, to know this is important, this work of mine has integrity, I'm doing it from my heart and soul, I'm following my values. I'm being guided by what I know matters in the world and in life. I'm fulfilling my purpose, and therefore it doesn't really matter what the outcome is or what other people say about it or how other people feel. It matters that I'm aware of the integrity within me, of everything that's coming together to put this out into the world. And I'm able to go ahead and be vulnerable and face attacks and criticism because I know I'm doing the right thing. For me, in my case, as I said, though, I had to develop a thicker skin and be less sensitive to other people's comments and criticism and take things less personally before I could move forward. So these are the things that I recommended to the person that I responded to. Number one, be patient. So recognize that the timing needs to be perfect and be willing to wait for the right moment for your gifts to be given. So maybe they got rejected today or this week or this year, but there may be a time down the road when everything falls in place and it's just right for what you're bringing to the world. And you have to cultivate patience in order to wait for the timing to come. Number two, be humble. Because sometimes, we know that what we've created is really good. We know it's something the world needs. We know it's really positive. But we have to humble ourselves a little bit to recognize it, but we don't know everything. We may know what we've done and how we see the world from our perspective, but we don't know everything. So we don't always know why or how or when things happen. And we have to be able to surrender to the higher good and allow things to unfold in their own way. Perhaps if your gift were to be received in the world right now, it wouldn't have the impact that it could have a year from now. And if it's in the higher good, and if the most benefit would come from waiting, if this delay of 1 year would mean that something far more positive comes about, that would be worth it. So we have to be willing to be humble and to surrender to this idea that there may be a higher good. Next, I suggested be creative. Everything in our society is on the cusp of change right now, including the job market and how we do business. While there may not be openings for you right now, it's possible for that to change quickly in the next few years. Be willing to work at something else for now if necessary to get by while you're waiting, while you're being patient. And try to think of other venues for bringing your gift to the world. So using our own creativity, how do I get by? How do I survive and make it if my career that I had planned for myself isn't going to work out right now? And wait for the timing to be right, be patient, and figure out other ways of getting by, other ways of making a living, other types of work to do while we're waiting for this to unfold properly and waiting for the world to be ready. My next suggestion was keep working on yourself, because if we know that sometimes the obstacles to our work getting out to the world are actually coming from within us, it isn't so much the rest of the world, it's something within me that may be keeping my gift from being as good as it could be. Maybe there's something in me that has shifted my energy toward a negative place or a wound that's keeping me from being fully honest and having full integrity about what I'm creating. So if I can keep looking at myself and working on myself and growing and healing, I can be growing myself toward the place where I'm fully ready when the world is ready and the timing is right. I'm ready for that moment because I've continued to grow stronger. So I suggested look within and see where you might need to grow stronger, where you have an old wound that needs to heal. Who do you need to forgive? Who needs your love right now, including yourself? Remember, sometimes self-love and self-compassion is actually the part of us that needs to grow first. And sometimes that's the reason we experience this kind of disappointment and so-called failure in our lives, is so we can practice having more compassion for ourselves and learning even deeper love for ourselves. My next suggestion was to start small. Look around and see where you might be able to give your gifts in a local, small way, and then gradually build on that over time. Because sometimes our ideas are bigger than our own capacity to achieve them. If we can start small and build over time, then we're strengthening ourselves and strengthening the foundation we have for our work in the future. And we can grow this foundation as we're growing our possibilities and options for the future. So sometimes the problem is simply that, our ideas exceeded our own capacity to carry those ideas. And we have to whittle things back a little bit, get a little bit more realistic and small, and then grow all of it together while we're growing ourselves at the same time. My last suggestion was keep the faith. Keep believing in what you have to offer and trust that it will come to fruition one day. You are loved and supported far more than you realize. And so, this is challenging. I get pushback sometimes by using a word like faith because most people associate faith with religion, but faith is actually an incredible quality for life that any of us can and should have apart from any religion. Faith is our understanding of the universe and how it operates, and whether or not we see the universe as being good, as offering goodness to us. And for me, I see the universe as the source of love, really. And so I have faith in that there is something good unfolding and evolving through life here on this planet. And I can participate in that if I want to. I just have to put myself in the right frame of mind and open myself and be willing to be part of the flow instead of resisting it. And so when I say keep the faith, that's what I mean. Keep trusting that something good is happening, and it's okay for me to want to be part of it. I'm allowed to be part of it. I'm allowed to participate. I'm allowed to have good things happen in my life. All I have to do is move into the flow of things, work on whatever obstacles I have within me that keep my own energy from flowing within me. If I'm not able to get to that state where love and creativity are flowing through me freely, it's a sign that maybe there are some things, some blockages within me that I need to look at and heal. Just some old wounds, some old places where I need to love myself better and I need more forgiveness for myself within. So I ended my note to this person by saying, I assure you that the world needs your gift and will be better for it when it is given at the right time in the right way. I'm grateful for your dedication and your caring that led you to create something for the world. And I don't even know what it is that you created. All I know is that you told me you created something, and I think that's amazing and beautiful. Thank you for giving of yourself and going down this path of creativity and caring. One day you will be able to see it all clearly. Until then, I wish you many blessings and much peace. So that was my response to this question of what if the world doesn't want my gifts? And for you, if any of you out there are feeling the same kind of frustration and disappointment and really being let down by the world when you've tried to do something good in the world, I hope in some small way me talking about this may have helped you. May it be soothing. May it inspire you in a way to look at yourself and to keep going and to keep trying new things, but to not give up your hope, and to also stay patient, stay humble, stay trusting, and watch as things begin to unfold around you. Be always willing to question yourself. Be always willing to heal yourself. Always willing to love yourself more and forgive yourself and have more self-compassion. And I believe that the world will be ready for your gift one day the timing will be right and it will unfold. And I hope that you can continue to believe in that as well. And so with that being said, thanks for tuning in and listening to another episode. I'll be back next week. Remember, if you would like to support this podcast and keep it on the air, you can go to eoluniversity.com/support. And I really appreciate it. Any of you who've been making donations to help keep the podcast going. Remember also, I have a YouTube channel where you can listen to these episodes on that channel, and that is my End of Life University channel. At EOL University is the handle on YouTube. So once again, thank you, and remember that we're here for love. So face your fear, because that's our biggest obstacle most of the time. Be ready for whatever life brings you next, and love each and every moment of your very precious life. Bye-bye.